Welcome to Baptist Belief, where we explore core teachings of the Baptist faith and how they affect our daily lives. Glad to have you join us this morning as we'll dive into an interesting topic. In the month of February, we've been taking a look at family, love, and how, of course, what the Baptists believe to be some fundamental things to take note in all of this. And today we will be talking about handling family conflicts. Family is the foundation of the society and the church, but conflicts within the family are inevitable. The Bible offers wisdom on how to navigate these disagreements. And today we will be examining the cause of family conflicts, the reason for forgiveness, prayer, and communication in resolution, and how the church can provide guidance for difficult times that families go through. To help us gain a deeper understanding into this conversation is our VP Ministerial, Reverend Professor John Enyinnaya, who has an in-depth wealth of knowledge on subject matters like this. You're welcome to the studio, sir.
Thank you, Adiola. Good morning to our viewers. You're welcome to our conversation.
Family conflicts are a reality in every home. Now, from a biblical perspective, what do you see as the main root cause of conflicts within the family?
Yeah, thank you very much. The issue of conflict, maybe we should step back a little bit and mention the fact that in almost every family, almost every marriage, let me not even say almost, every marriage has times of disagreement, times when there might be misunderstanding between the husband and the wife, times when there will be issues for them to discuss and resolve. There are such times in every human relationship, marriage inclusive. But we are talking about conflict, and which results when issues arise that threaten to break down the relationship, that threaten to break down the home, that threaten to create major problems for a marriage relationship of a family. That's when we will say, okay, the family is going through conflict. And if you look at it from the biblical perspective, the root cause of conflict, all human conflicts, including marriage conflict, is the three-letter word sin. And that will take us back to Genesis chapter 3, when Adam and Eve fell. And that action or that event caused a disruption in the relationship between humans and God, and also caused a disruption in the relationship between humans and other humans. That's when you find Cain and Abel. And God asked Cain, "Where is your brother Abel?" And he says, "Am I my brother's keeper?" Since then, there has continued to be disruptions in relationships. And so when you are talking about conflict in marriage, we'll have to go back there. And not just that, we'll go back there, we need to state that virtually every conflict in marriage is either directly caused or complicated by sin. We're talking about pride, issues of pride, arrogance, selfishness. We're talking about unforgiveness, lack of love. These are all issues that can cause conflict in a marriage. And they are all issues that arise from either sin or they are complicated by sin. There are also times when conflicts arise in marriage because the people involved had wrong notions even before they came into marriage. It's unfortunate today that you have many young people whose attitude to marriage is that it's temporary. I get into it, and if it does not work, I take a walk. And I can get involved with another person and all of that. That's the notion that some people have. And you wonder, from the beginning, that's their attitude. So if someone's attitude to marriage is that it is temporary, it's only going to work when everything is going well, and if things are not going well, I just find my way. Such a person cannot endure anything in marriage. I mean, it just tells you that they are ready to take a walk at any time. And so you have that issue of wrong notions that cause problems and conflict in marriage. Then you also have the issue of uncommunicated or unfulfilled expectations. Unfulfilled expectations, like when you have a marriage and there is the lack of children in that marriage. They don't have any children. In Africa especially, that is a root cause of conflict in many marriages that we find around us. And then there are also some other common causes of conflict in marriages, such as the issue of finance, the issue of sex, and the issue of in-laws. These are big issues that cause conflict in marriages when they are not properly handled, and when the couple or the people involved in the marriage do not have the proper understanding of how to deal with these issues and how to relate in spite of them.
Okay, before we further go in, I just quickly want to ask, is conflict generally negative?
Conflict is a human reality. Okay. It's a human reality. There is nothing we can do about it because we all are coming from different perspectives. We see things differently. And sometimes you will see an object and one person will say it is white, another person might say it's black. Sometimes it is not just that they are telling lies, it's the way they see it. And they are just being sincere. And those things can cause conflict. So conflict is a human reality. So it's something we have to deal with. Secondly, we would say that conflict is not necessarily negative. You know, there is this general saying that quarrel can make friends to come closer, or, you know, can draw friends closer. And I mean, maybe some of us, or if not all of us, have had experiences like that. When you quarrel with somebody and then that quarrel now drew you closer, you became friends after the quarrel and the fight. So it happens. So conflict has its own good side. So also in marriage. Conflict in marriage might lead a couple to get closer to each other. It might lead them to discover a problem that they had left untreated or unhandled. Let's say the people involved in the marriage have been paying too much attention to their work without paying attention to each other, and then there is a conflict, and then they have to now sit down and discuss it. They realize that, oh, wait a minute, we have been ignoring and taking each other for granted, giving more attention to our work. Now they sit down and they discuss it, and they take decisions, deliberate decisions to say, okay, we will prioritize our relationship, we will do this, we will do this. And so that in itself will help to build the marriage, make it stronger, draw them together. And so in that case, you will say that conflict is not always negative. It can produce positive results. And that's what we would wish, that all marriages going through conflict at the moment, that's what we wish will happen to them, that it will draw them closer and help them to come together even in a stronger way to build stronger relationships and stronger marriages.
Okay. Now, having established what conflict entails, now how should we approach conflict within the confines of the family?
When conflicts arise in a marriage relationship, first of all, we can take proper steps. If a marriage takes proactive steps, if married people do what they are supposed to do, conflicts may not arise. Disagreements will arise, yes. Issues will come up, yes. But if they are not allowed to fester, to develop and grow until they become big, they may not necessarily lead to conflict. It's like someone that has a health condition. If it's not diagnosed early and treated, it can now become a major disease that can disturb or disrupt a person. So when couples are proactive, they identify their issues and problems, and they respond to them appropriately, it may not lead to conflict. But when conflict already has started, it means that there is already a problem. So, and that means that something needs to be done about it. Just like a sickness needs to be addressed, such a situation will need to be addressed. And there are steps that a couple can take to address their conflict.
Okay, now sometimes you hear people say that, oh, you should not give room for a third party in the marriage. Now, in issues of conflict, what exactly should the couples do? Is it advisable to step out to allow for somebody to interfere, or then if we are doing that, who should be the third party in this case?
Great question. Yes, the suggestion that we should not involve third parties in our marriages is a general wisdom, and is a given. Whatever happens, a couple should try to resolve their issues between themselves, first and foremost. But when issues arise in a marriage and the couple is no longer able to resolve the issues on their own, then it is time for them to seek help. And that also is something that takes maturity and wisdom to do. It's only a mature person and a wise person that will know when to seek help. And couples are encouraged to seek help. We have had some cases where, under the guise of we don't want a third party, a problem is allowed to degenerate until it becomes difficult to handle. And in fact, it can even lead to the breakup of the marriage. Or maybe somebody can even get hurt in the process. We don't want that to happen. So first and foremost, a husband and a wife should sit down and try to discuss their issues. They should always try to discuss their issues and find solutions. But when it comes to a point when they are no longer able to discuss those issues and to talk to themselves as mature people in an understanding way, especially for Christians, it's time for them to step out and seek help. And where can they find help? For a child of God or for Christians, the church is the first port of call. Because in the church, we know that Christian love and concern rules in the church, and the church understands the principles of marriage from the Bible, and they are in a position to help a married couple resolve their issues. So the pastor of a church is a very veritable help that a couple can seek. In the way that we run as a denomination, all our theological institutions have as part of their training, very core to their training, the issue of marriage counseling. So every Baptist pastor has training in the area of marriage counseling. So they are prepared and ready and equipped to help marriages within their churches and from also the community to help them to come back to optimum functioning. So a couple can seek help from the pastor, can seek help from the church. And there might also be, apart from the pastor, mature Christian men and women in the church that a couple could consult, especially if they are significant people in the lives of the two people involved, like the husband and the wife. Mm-hmm. There are people they respect, there are people they have a relationship with. Those ones can also be consulted. It's not good and it's not advised for a Christian couple having issues to go consult unbelievers. Unless though an unbeliever is, okay, maybe a relation, and or maybe they have come to some level of maturity and you think that, okay, they will be in a position to help my partner or to help me to see better the issues that are going on. Otherwise, an unbeliever normally has a different perspective of issues. And the counsel and suggestions and advice and counseling they will give might not produce the result you want or the result that is intended. So those are some of the issues. So I would say that a couple should consult their church, their pastor, matured Christians, and people that are around that they know are mature, will keep confidences, and will be able to help the couple come to a better functioning in their relationship.
Now, are there issues that are irresolvable within the context of marriage?
My perspective is that in Christian marriage, and I'm qualifying it, in Christian marriage, no conflict is irresolvable. And my perspective is that in Christian marriage, every marriage is redeemable, no matter how bad things have come. I'm qualifying the marriage as Christian marriage because, you know, marriage is between two people. You know, no matter how good intentioned a person is, one person cannot make a marriage work. It takes the two people. And I'm saying that in a Christian marriage should be one that both the husband and the wife are committed to making the marriage work. That's the ground norm. And a Christian marriage will be one that both the husband and the wife have reverence for God, and have reverence for God's word, and for God's principles and expectations, and have respect for the vows that they took when they got married, and for the marriage institution. So that's what I'm talking about, Christian marriage. So in Christian marriage, every conflict can be resolved. Every marriage is redeemable, as long as the two people are ready to work on it. And it is a good encouragement to married people that may be going through conflict or having problems in their marriage, to know that there are couples that have had worse problems, and yet they were able to resolve their issues. I mean, we have seen couples that had problems to the point that they even separated for some time, but after some time, the issues were resolved. They came back together and have had a wonderful marriage, since then, because they were able to solve their issues and their problems. So yes, conflicts can be resolved, and that should be the goal of every married couple, that their conflicts will be resolved so that the marriage can move on as it should.
Thank you, sir. Now, we have families where issues keep reoccurring, conflicts keep happening over and over again. What should be the proactive steps that both parties should take to ensure that conflict is as limited as possible?
Well, the issue of recurrent conflicts in a marriage is also something that we see happen from time to time. But then it is for the two people involved to sit down and discuss. Why are we having the problems we are having? What are the issues? Like we said at the beginning, sometimes the conflict may be caused by finance, issues around finance, expenses, and how to run the family finance. Sometimes the issue may be about sex. And for people that have been involved in marriage counseling, they will know that the issue of sex is one that is usually at the bottom of many conflicts, and difficult to know because they will not tell you. The husband and the wife will not tell you. They will keep hiding it and dancing around the issue, but it is the problem. Sometimes it may be the influence of in-laws that is causing the conflict in a marriage. But whatever it is, a married couple need to find time to sit down and discuss their problems so that they can be able to resolve them. Now, but you talk about proactive steps. One proactive step that a couple can take is, number one, to be able to, from the beginning, make time to build the relationship between them. Find time to discuss. Find time to dialogue. There are many couples who really don't discuss. They only have business meetings. A wife and a husband only come together to discuss when there is school fees to pay, or when there are bills to be settled, or when there are issues to be handled. That's when they sit down to discuss. Otherwise, one person is busy with their phone, the other one is busy reading a newspaper, the other one is busy with his friends outside. Some build bonds, very strong bonds with people outside of their marriage rather than and far above their married partner. So the issue of bonding is very, very important. We counsel married people to be very intentional in creating time for them to bond. They should have recreation together. They should make time each day as much as possible if they are living together to have time to discuss and have time to just wind down what has happened in the day. They're not living in the same place, like they are separated by distance. Today, technology can help to fill in the blanks, to help to build the bond. It's very, very important. Number two is that part of building that bond also is that a married couple should build it into their calendar to have times together, just the two of them. Take vacations together. Mm-hmm. And all those things help to form memories, build memories that help a marriage to overcome challenges and issues when they come. See, what happens is that sometimes couples have conflicts because they are prioritizing their children above their own relationship, or maybe prioritizing their work above their relationship, and so on and so forth. But what happens is that when a marriage breaks down, it affects the children, it affects the work, it affects every other thing, the balance of a person's life. It affects everything. So if marriage is that important, then we should prioritize it and make effort to build it, to nurture it, and to make it grow. So that even if there are issues that would have caused conflict, because we have bonded well, because we have created enough capital in terms of the relationship between us, we are able to overlook, we're able to discuss, we're able to iron out some of those issues, and they will not eventually lead to conflict. That's what we will recommend for couples to do proactively.
Okay. Now, one of the major reasons that leads to conflict, just like you've mentioned, is the issue of in-laws, dealing with in-laws. Now, in areas where both in-laws are constantly the reason for recurrent conflicts, how should both parties manage the situation, ensuring that none of the in-laws are offended? We have quite a couple of questions on that.
Yeah, well, first thing to say is that a couple, a husband and a wife, need to realize that the relationship between the two of them is the most important of all relationships. A husband and wife should understand that the relationship that they share is more important than their relationship with their in-laws, with their fathers and mothers, their brothers, their sisters, their friends, their colleagues, even their children. Children will even come secondary to the relationship between a husband and a wife. So that one is number one. Every couple should understand that. And couples that understand it are better positioned to handle issues that arise in terms of marriage relationships and misunderstanding and conflict. So that is very, very critical. Now, once you understand that, you now know that you must give priority to your spouse, your wife and your husband, your family. Very, very important. Number two is that in Africa, and I think also Christian worldview, yes, we cannot close our eyes to our in-laws, but a husband and a wife need to sit down and discuss the extent of their involvement in the lives of their parents, in the lives of their siblings. They should sit down and iron it out. Some couples handle that with the issue of their budgeting, because sometimes it is support that is the problem. They budget and say, okay, for our parents-in-law, our parents, this is how we will help them, this is what we will do, and all of that. So that is usually very helpful. One thing that I used to do with my wife was that we came to some kind of agreement or developed a practice that, of course, yes, we have an extent to which we will help our parents. But then we went an extra step. When we will do something for my parents, my wife will be the one to do it. She will be the one, if it is to send them money, if it is to send them gifts, she was the one that would do it. So they will know that she really loves them. And when it is to do with her parents, I will be the one to do it, so that they will know that I really love them. So in that way, we are able to disabuse their minds from, oh, okay, my son belongs to me, my daughter belongs to me, that kind of a thing. So that can also be very helpful. And then, when it comes to, maybe sometimes it's not finance, but then it is that somebody wants to control somebody. Maybe the parents want to control their daughter, the parents want to control their son, telling them this is how you will treat your husband, this is how. First, matured people should not fall into that kind of trap. You know, a couple that is mature should know that they are supposed to take decisions in their family, and they are not supposed to depend on outside influence. That's the issue of the third party, that normally we counsel, don't let third parties run your home for you. And so those are very critical decisions that a couple will need to make, so that you will not allow your marriage to be torn apart by external influences, when the two of you now have formed a team, and you should play together, you should plan together, you should fight together, you should win together, you should work together. That kind of understanding will help a couple to avoid influences that might come from in-laws or from relatives.
Okay, now we take a look at some of the questions that came in over the weekend on this issue. Now, there's a message from someone. I'm just going to take it exactly as the message came in. My son raises his voice on his father because he has seen his father do the same. Now the father no longer pays his school fees. How do we resolve this?
Well, I presume that the mother or the wife is the one sending the question.
Yes.
So what I would suggest is that she needs to call her husband, and they need to find time and discuss. Find out and discuss what has caused this, and then agree on what they need to do. She is now the #1 mediator in the conflict. So she will talk with her husband, she will also talk with her son, and then bring them back together. And the father that is refusing to pay the school fees of the son, is that one a solution? It's not a solution now. Oh, it's not a solution. In fact, it will complicate the problem. It will complicate the problem between the father and the son. And then if the son has issues with his development and education and drops out, who will lose? The father will lose. So it's not even a solution at all. That we shouldn't go there. We shouldn't go there at all. So there are better ways to handle issues like that. The father should come sit down, they should iron out their issues and find a way to resolve them, so that the marriage, the relationship, the family can move on the way that we should. And that is one thing, again, that I would like to say. The attitude of some people to their marriage and their family leaves a lot to be desired. The way you treat people in your family should not be the way you handle things outside. When somebody offends you outside, you want to withdraw. Or when somebody offends you outside, you are thinking, okay, if you're not a Christian, how do I fight back? How do I show them that I too, I know what to do? You can't show power in your family. You can't be showing power in your marriage. We have an adage in my language that if you kill somebody that it is your responsibility to bury them, you have not achieved anything. You will kill them and you will not be the one to plan their funeral. You haven't achieved anything. You have just given yourself a burden and a problem. So people in our family are people like that. How will you be having quarrel in your family with your wife and you say you want to fight to finish? You want to show her that I know what to do, I'm a man. Or I want to show him that I'm a woman. It's not that's not in the marriage. Marriage is not a place for that kind of a thing. or you have a conflict with your son or your daughter and you want to show power. You are showing power to your son. It doesn't make sense to me. One day will come, you will become weak and powerless, unable to even get out of bed. It will be this your son that will now have the responsibility to take care of you. So why will you be showing power for somebody like that? It doesn't make sense at all. So the way we handle issues when it touches members of our family should be different from the way we even handle things outside. So that's something I believe that many of us we need to re-examine and then find better ways to respond to some of these issues.
Okay, we have somebody asking a question on behalf of another family. And this, okay, now this is on the issue of adoption. Now, he or she is saying that there's this family who do not have kids. They've been married for over 15 years. The wife wants to consider adoption. The husband is trusting God for a child. Now the family is on the brink of collapse. Is the Baptist church against adoption? Because the husband seems to believe that God will give them a child without having to adopt.
Thank you. I'm so thankful to God that somebody raised that. I was wanting to talk about it at some point, but I was also afraid I would forget. But I'm thankful that somebody raised the issue of adoption. Why? Because if you look at marriages that collapse, that break down in Africa, many of them are caused because of childbearing or the lack of it. And the issue of adoption, I like just to say up front that the issue of adoption is a very, very good practice that couples should consider. Very, very good practice. It's a good alternative that couples should consider. What do the Baptists, or what does the Baptist Church say about adoption? The Baptist Church is in favor of it. The Bible is in favor of it. I'll give you a theological reason. First and foremost, all of us are children of God by adoption. Theologically, we say God has only one Son, and that is Jesus Christ. All of us become sons and daughters of God through adoption in Christ. So that even just shows us that adoption is okay. Theologically, biblically, spiritually, it is okay. Practically, adoption is also okay, because when you adopt a child going through the normal official process, that child becomes like your own biological child. He has the same rights legally, has the same position legally as your child, as if he were your biological child. There is no difference legally between a biological child and an adopted child. So it is normal. It is also practically helpful to do that. And then also, we have seen couples that adopted children, and those children that they adopted grew up to do for them what even biological children cannot do for parents. I mean, as I'm even saying that now, I have in my head one of my friends that adopted, the family adopted a child years back. And they nursed this child from kindergarten to primary to secondary to university. The lady got married, now has a family, and she's the one taking care of them. I mean, this is something that is fantastic and something that we encourage greatly for parents to do. Now, finally, there is no conflict, and there shouldn't be conflict between the husband and wife in this case. Because if they adopt, it does not mean that they cannot have their own children. It does not mean that they cannot have their children. We have also had couples that adopted and then later on they had their own children. Okay, biological children I mean, because an adopted child is also your child. So it doesn't stop them from having children. It does not mean that they have given up on having children or that they will not have children. No. So this is something that I think we need to find a way to educate our people to know that this is something that they can consider and that there is nothing wrong with it, either biblically or spiritually.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Now, finally, before we let you go, what are final words of encouragement and guidance will you be giving families currently struggling with conflict?
Well, like we said before, every conflict can be resolved and every marriage is redeemable as far as Christian couples are concerned. What I would suggest for marriages and families that are going through conflict at this moment is for the two of them to come to that realization that no matter what the issue is, we can resolve it. To sit down and begin to talk. If they need help, they should seek help. They should seek help of mature Christians. They should seek help of their pastor, and they should seek help from the church. And then, just like we have had couples that had issues and then we are able to resolve them, their own case will also become a testimony. But let me also add to our churches to please prioritize this issue of marriage enrichment. Some churches have what they call couples fellowship and then have couples retreat from time to time. Some have it on a monthly basis, some on a bi-monthly basis. That's like once in 2 months, some in a quarter, on a quarterly basis. When they bring married people together, they bring up one issue like communication, or like sex, or like finance, or like in-laws, or like conflict, and they get somebody to talk about it, they discuss, people share their ideas. I want to encourage our churches to take this very seriously, because you never know which couple is going through what they are going through. And when they come to a retreat like that, they come to a fellowship like that, they are able to be blessed. And they go back home and they say, it means that people have even handled issues that are bigger than our own issues. So why can't we sit down and solve our own? So I will encourage our churches to prioritize this. I believe that it will go a long way to helping build our homes and our families and Christian marriages in our churches.
All right, thank you very much, Reverend Professor John Enyinnaya, for coming to share your profound wisdom on handling family conflicts. And just like you have heard, there's no conflict that is irresolvable. And for families who are facing challenges, who are facing conflicts, you need guidance. Seek help as fast as you can. And of course, if you would like to ask Prof some questions also, you can drop them in the comment section, and of course we will be giving you answers to your questions. Till we come your way again next week on Baptist Belief. Thank you for joining us, and of course we hope that Baptist Belief continue to be a blessing to you and your family.